society starts from home. Results of two district level gender studies in Nepal during COVID-19 validated the importance to gain the better understanding of household dynamics to accelerate the progress in WAS. Some results include: 1. There was little improvement in women's lion's share in caregiving and domestic work, most of which are WAS related. 2. Women exhibited lower confidence level in taking decisions at home and within the community. Our research findings provided SNB in Nepal with the evidence to inform our programmatic priorities. Research findings further influenced us to encourage and demonstrate the value of equal and respectful partnership between men and women. Further, gender equality and social inclusion, also covering disability inclusion, has become an important facet of and requirement for SNB sector programming in water, agri-food and energy.
Namaste, my name is Ratan Budataki. Significantly, our efforts contribute to climate resilience because if we are successful in harnessing mutual respect and partnership within households, we create an environment that builds a foundation of dialogue, joint planning, and decision-making over households and community needs. When women and men work together, the responses to the climate crisis will be more encompassing of the needs of all individuals. Community support network, particularly needed in at-risk communities, will be built and reinforced. Accordingly, domestic and caregiving work becomes the responsibility of two or more, not simply one. This is especially important as meeting the challenges of the climate risk will require all hands on deck. As this year's COP slogan goes, we must move together for implementation.
ESCAL led the soap-making workshop in WARM, co-facilitated by Appropriate Technology Community Development Institute. While originally was designed to be a women-only livelihood, ESCAL, in pursuit to encourage do not harm approach, invited and encouraged men and partners' participation in the activity. Throughout the workshop, ESCAL facilitated gender awareness raising sessions with men and women, incorporating gender-based violence messaging and women's empowerment. Men understood GBV issues and have revealed their own experience and strongly advocate prevention message among themselves during soap-making workshop. Quote from a ward member, Thomas Tallis: "I will not deny the fact that all the gender-based violence and abuse cases that we have discussed in common in the community. I want to thank you, WaterAid, for this awareness. You have set a new pathway in GBV for us to take and try and prevent and address these issues in the community."
It's important to support the voice and agency of marginalized communities in sanitation enterprises for two major reasons. Firstly, sanitary workers, many of whom are women and from less privileged groups, face huge exploitation from contractors made to do hazardous work, often with no protective gear and equipment. Secondly, because no one can drive social enterprise better than them, especially if they can collaborate with the Community Management Committee or CMC formed at the slum level to generate demand for services. Therefore, their inclusion in running sanitation enterprise has benefited government and communities. They're being contracted to run FST plants, material recovery facilities for waste management, manage toilet complexes, collect water tariff and property tax. This is proving to be both transformative and meaningful.
The partnerships between CIFA, the duty bearers, and the marginal communities we work with is important to build inclusive systems in communities, because the WASH system or private sector is unable to address the complex need of marginal communities. The former is able to demonstrate readiness to catalyze inclusive WASH and build WASH infrastructure, but it is not able to address all the structural challenges on the ground. And the private sector, they are worried about not getting the margins of profit. Under these conditions, the self-help groups or the community cooperatives Running sanitation enterprises not only integrating sanitation and livelihood, but also to fulfill the social development goal of gender equality and inclusive wash. This also contributes to climate resilience. How? If the sanitation entrepreneurs are trained in strengthening adaptation and to build safe infrastructure, they will strengthen the sanitation value chain. As managers of MCC, they are strengthening the government efforts to reduce GHG. Proper solid and liquid waste management will also ensure that groundwater is not contaminated, enhancing water security to contribute climate resilient wash.
In Sampo, my name is Tichan Ongmo. I am the current Health Minister for all Government of Bhutan and also currently serving as the President of the World Health Assembly. Health is central to the developmental agenda. If health and well-being of the population is not taken care, then I think no other developmental agendas can move forward. The recent COVID pandemic, we have ensured that we do line listing of every individual with disability, every individual who are on prescription medicine, so that if there is any disruption in the health services, that we are able to take care of the most vulnerable sector of our population. When we started quarantining people, we have never thought about distributing sanitary pad, and suddenly I realized, oh, there are a lot of women in quarantine and they have no access to sanitary pad. We ensure that all our quarantine facilities have access to sanitary pads. It was also a reflective moment for us. We as a nation now going forward must invest in our own people, building capacity and the competency of our own people. So anytime down the line in future, if we have a pandemic like this, we are at least have adequate health human resources. My health workers did not shy away from that challenge. Instead, they took upon themselves to train as many health workers as they can in managing ICU care, in managing and delivering essential health services. So in the Southeast Asia region, probably Bhutan is the only country through the assessment done by WHO that did not have any disruption in the routine health services. I think for me personally, the biggest inspiration is His Majesty the King. We often talk about different styles of leadership and we don't talk about compassionate leadership. Being able to understand people's pain, every individual's worry, every individual's concern. I also believe in setting ambitious target. Setting ambitious target should be our normal approach. My name is Tichan and I commit to reach the unreached and serve as a voice for the voiceless. Together we can.
It is important to have representation of people with disabilities in WASH systems because they are the ones who knows the issues and challenges they face, so they are able to suggest the necessary support and appropriate solutions. They will be empowered by being able to speak up for themselves. SNB supports the inclusion of people with disabilities in WASH by involving them in the creation of policies, plans, guidelines, and communication materials, including the development of program planning, decision making, and execution. The partnerships between SNV and the OPDs we work with is important for building inclusive systems because they are the right holder organizations with extensive networks of people with disabilities, knowledge of disability inclusion, and local expertise in climate resilient WASH services and adaptation strategies. This contributes to climate resilience by designing suitable interventions and adaptive methods can take disability issues and challenges into account.
It is important to have right holder representation in government WAS monitoring process because we want to ensure that all marginalized groups, particularly women, girls, and people with disabilities, are represented in the monitoring process. With the participation of right holder organizations in the monitoring process, they can speak on behalf of the marginalized groups in regard to how the project outputs give or do not give benefits for women, girls, people with disabilities, and other marginalized groups. In Indonesia, this process has achieved the following benefits for government and communities. Firstly, district government in planned international project areas are able to demonstrate how to apply inclusive approach in monitoring the progress of WAS projects. Secondly, such learning from district level is being disseminated widely for further replications by other district governments and by the national government in order to promote inclusive WAS approach on a larger scale. And thirdly, marginalized groups have increased confidence and agency in having a say about their WAS issues. The partnership between Plan International, the government, and the right holder organization we work with is important for building inclusive systems and communities in Indonesia. This is because through the WAS project, we created a platform for CSOs, government agencies, and right holder organizations to sit together and make decisions in regard to inclusive access to WAS services. This contributes to climate resilience by reducing the vulnerabilities of marginalized groups from the impact of climate hazards on WAS services. As we all know that when WAS services are interrupted due to climate hazard events, marginalized groups feel more burdened than the rest of community members. Having diverse perspective during the WAS monitoring process will give an opportunity for the government to have inputs from marginalized groups on how to improve WAS services to be more resilient to climate hazards from their perspective.
The research project aims to raise the importance of understanding the water catchment area, how it connects, where people's water comes from, importance of protecting the resource, whether visible at the surface or invisible under our feet.
So the imaging work of the research project looks at enhancing the existing approach of CVC to improve sustainability, inclusiveness, and opportunity to plan for future scenarios. This means consideration into past and current challenges as well as future scenarios. This approach tends to re-engage communities to motivate action planning for climate change through shared stories, ideas from other communities and places in Solomon Islands as well as the Pacific Islands. And also it helps increase the knowledge around impacts of climate change, the likely future hazards, what vulnerable and resilient water system may look like through workshops. And it helps communities think about what future hazards are there and how they can affect their individual water supply systems, people's well-being, and the wider catchment systems. So this approach aims to instill, number one, future is important. Number two, planning for future scenarios ensures no regrets, actions now. Number three, it requires a collective action. Everyone has responsibilities. And number four, water for everyone is important.
In addition to the water action planning process, which is based more on water supply protection at the community level, there need to be a more holistic approach to protect catchment level water resource management and water stewardship. The main idea here is with everything that is happening within the catchment, both man-made and natural fresh water quality and quantity is being compromised. So how can we keep it safe? Well, by using photography and photo voice to document, discuss the current state of health of their water source and catchment, communities have a platform to discuss environmental change that has happened over their lifetime, as well as their concerned future aspirations for their catchment. By discussing with other communities, they have a platform to reflect on the connections between themselves and their environment and with others in the catchment. This process aims to engender water stewardship through bringing communities together to consider that water is everyone's responsibility and to discuss individual and collective actions they can take to conserve, to protect, and regenerate their water resources.